Welcome everyone to today's Title Topics webinar. This is ALTA's free 30-minute presentation we've been offering each month to provide an alternative way of communicating important industry information to our members. I'm Jeremy Yowie, ALTA's Director of Communications, and joining me today we have Robert Reich of DigitalDocs.net, who will be sharing some tips on effective sales and marketing strategies. Robert, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
And real quick before we get started, just to have a few housekeeping items to touch on. All the participants' lines are on mute just so we can keep all the background noise muted. If at any time you do have a question, please use the chat box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, and we will hold some time at the end to address any questions. And as an added benefit, today's presentation will be available for download at ALTA's website, and that is alta.org/title topics. And again, that's alta.org/title topics. And getting into the conversation, Robert, there's been some indications that the market may be trending slightly toward a little recovery. Last week, the MBA increased its mortgage origination forecast for 2012 by nearly $200 billion. And in addition, ALTA just reported that for first quarter 2012 title insurance premium volume increased 3.5% compared to the first 3 months of 2011. And interestingly, in that the top 4 largest producing states, California, Texas, Florida, and they all reported double-digit increases in premium volume. So with this information in mind, I'll give the presentation over to Robert, who will share some great ideas on how to capture some of this business. So Robert, the computer screen is yours.
Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate Alta asking me to chat with you guys today. Talking about sales and marketing is absolutely my favorite subject, and as Jeremy says, you can chat questions. I encourage you to do so. I'll answer as many as I possibly can in the next 25, 28 minutes, whatever we have. You know, I've been in sales and marketing all my professional life. I'm a native of Orlando, Florida, and right out of college, I got a job working for the Harris Lanier Corporation. Some of you may have heard of them. And my first job was selling telecommunication and dictation systems to small business. And it was door to door in the heat of summer, and we always had to wear a suit and tie, and it was a tough job. And at that job, my sales training consisted of get the deal or leave blood on the floor. You know, not exactly what I would be telling young kids to do when they first got their sales jobs, but that's where I started. Obviously, I don't subscribe to that, or at least I hope it's obvious I don't subscribe to that. But over the years, I have learned how to sell effectively, how to help others to sell and to sell effectively. And I founded DigitalDocs.net more than 10 years ago now. And this is what we do as a company, is that we work with title agents. And along the way, we learned over the last 10, 12 years how you market, what works, what doesn't work. And there are some things that we see that tend to be common mistakes. And you may or may not be doing these. Obviously, I don't know you guys individually, but I do see 5 common mistakes in the sales and that in the title industry when it comes to sales and marketing. The first one is that title agents confuse sales with customer service. I remember talking with a very large agent in Washington, D.C., very successful, very well thought of, and I was talking to one of the partners, and I asked her a question. I said, do you all market? And she says, well, yes, we do. In fact, she was emphatic about it. And we have we have office managers who run the offices, and their job is partially sales and marketing. And they go out and they do that every week. And I asked her a follow-up question that was quite telling. I said, well, when they go on their sales and marketing calls, where do they go? And she kind of let her shoulders droop a little bit, and her back wasn't quite as straight, and her voice wasn't quite as firm. And she said, well, they really go see our current customers. And around the country, I see title agency reps, especially the young ones or the part-time ones, go out and visit current customers to make sure they're happy. And there's nothing wrong with that. Customer service is very important in every aspect of what you all do, and you do a great job of it. But that's not sales and marketing. A sales call is getting in front of someone who doesn't know you or doesn't know you well, or at least is not using you for all of their business, and selling to them, giving them reasons at the right time for them to use your company. If you're not doing that as an organization every week and for many hours each week, probably a couple hours each day, I think that's a mistake. If you're not, as they say, belt buckle to belt buckle with someone who isn't using you full time, then you're not selling. The next one, see if I can advance my slide here, number 4, I asked the same person in D.C., I said, well, when they go out, these office managers, and they make their sales and marketing calls, which they weren't really that, I said, how often do they do it? And her response was, well, that's kind of the bad news. She said, you see, some of our managers like to do it and go fairly frequently. That ended up being about 3 hours a week, as it turns out. Some of our managers don't like doing it all that much, but do it anyway, about 1 to 2 hours a week, maybe, one day or one afternoon. And she said some of them just don't like doing it at all. And that was 0 hours a week. Could you imagine where some of the top companies that we all work with, Apple or IBM or Xerox or Microsoft, if they didn't have sales and marketing teams working full-time on sales and marketing, if they're doing it and they're spending the money on it and it's working for them, why don't we do it in the title industry? Well, I understand why. It's because it's hard to differentiate yourself from your competition. Once you go in and you see a real estate agent and you say, hey, give us a try, well, I mean, how often can you say that to them? Probably not too many times without it becoming more of a broken record. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Number 3, the top 3 reasons title agents give to prospective customers to switch companies. 1, or number 3, rather, we close for you on Saturdays. I hear that all the time. I rode with a lot of reps in the field. And this may sound like I'm getting down on reps, and I'm not. I have a lot of admiration, a ton of admiration for anybody who is involved in sales and marketing, part-time or full-time. But it's difficult. And if you use reason number 3, I'm not sure that that's going to get the job done. The second reason, we have the best customer service. Someone did a survey not too long ago. They asked something like, 30 or 40 title agents in a geographic area, in a large geographic area, what's the number 1 reason you give real estate professionals to switch to use you? They all said in that one geographic area, customer service. Now, if everybody's saying the same thing, what are these realtors and mortgage professionals to think? And number 1, every time I've gone on a sales call with a title professional, sales professional, they were bringing the donuts, or the lunch, or the bagels, or whatever it was. And they thought if they didn't show up with food, then nobody else would show up, that the ones they want to sell to and market to wouldn't show up. And that's just not true. I understand the chocolate chip cookies in the afternoon may help some people to come in, but you have so much more to offer than that. Number 2. Title agents usually don't have a clear and concise marketing plan. When I ask title agents, do they have a written marketing plan, a written sales plan? How much are we going to grow revenues by this year? How many more customers are we going to need using us so that we can get an 8% or 12% increase in our revenue? How many people do we need to see each quarter, each month, each week, every day in order to pick up those X number of new customers? If you just go out and you're saying, I'm just going to go see everybody I can every day of every week, that's not a plan. And I've done that, and I understand why people do it. It's not the best way, but certainly you can justify it by saying, I get up every morning and I work till late at night getting in front of as many people as I can. If you don't have a map as to where you're going, you'll never know you get there. Now, does the plan have to be 20 pages in excruciating detail? No. A plan, let's just be honest, a plan is a guess. It's nothing more than that. What can we get done between now and the end of the year? Let's guess at it, but let's make an educated guess, and let's buy into it. And then once you can buy into a plan, hey, I think I can get 2 new customers a month, every month, or 3, or 1, or whatever the number is. And then back into the numbers of the activity that you need to get there, and then commit to the activity. And if you're an owner, I suggest get everybody in the organization involved in the sales and marketing plan. Don't just do it with your sales team if you have one. Or don't just do it with your part-time marketers who might be your escrow officers and others in your organization if that's what they're doing. Get everybody involved. Bring the receptionist in, for a few minutes, the processors, everybody. And maybe they won't participate to the extent that some others will, where they actually give input, but have them be part of the process and they'll buy in. You never know when your receptionist is going to meet a non-directing agent and get them to start using you, or a processor, or anybody else in your organization. Number 1, title agents rely on closers, escrow officers, and other staff to fulfill the role of salesperson. So we have interviewed hundreds and hundreds of staff in a title agent. We asked them what they liked about their jobs, what they didn't like about their job, and we asked them, we were actually looking to ask a single question. Are you charged with engaging in sales and marketing for the company part-time? And the ones that did, when we asked them how they liked doing it, almost exclusively they said they hated it. They weren't comfortable with it. They're not trained in it. They're not really, and I'm not talking about customer service now. Remember, I'm talking about belt buckle to belt buckle with somebody they don't know. I've asked owners, hey, what do you do to sell yourself to someone new? And they've looked at me with a look of fear on their face that said, oh, I can't do that. I can't get in front of somebody I don't know. And then I would ask, well, how do you get into business? Well, if somebody refers an agent to me and then they tell that person I'm calling, then I'll call them, but not before. Well, a good salesperson knows how to make that phone call and knows how to prospect and knows how to start new conversations. Escrow officers, closers, they have a lot to do. And some of you on the phone may be in one of those roles. And I'm sure if the owner of your company said, we're going to let you focus on what you do best, and we're going to bring in a salesperson, or let the sales team do what they do best, that'd be welcome news for you. Besides, what's the first thing that goes by the wayside when a closer or an escrow officer gets busy? Sale. Easy. They'd rather be in the office closing deals, which makes the company money anyway. Okay. So let me give you 10, in the time remaining that I have, 10 money-making ideas that you can implement this afternoon, tomorrow morning. Some of you may already be doing these things. So if I can give you 1 out of these 10 that sort of lights your fire, then I've done my job. Number 10, create that sales plan for the rest of the year. Use the entire company and make it as detailed as possible without going overboard. But get everybody involved. Have people buy into it. Look, if you're the owner or the executive running the office, look at everybody and say, is this realistic? If it's not, tell me. You know, one of the things at Apple and Microsoft and Google that these companies foster that I have a lot of respect for is anybody in their organization can look at their superior and say, this is messed up. This is a piece of you-know-what. It's not going to work. You're wrong. With impunity, they can say that. So, you know, to some degree, foster that within your company. Get people to participate, to be realistic, and to buy into the plan. And when everybody's on the same page, look out. Watch what happens. It's unavoidable that things are going to go in the right direction if you continue to steer them. Okay, number 9, embrace what's known as value-added selling. So I learned how to sell or leave blood on the floor when I was young, and then I learned the second hot sales method that swept the country, and that was consultative selling. I'm not a salesperson, I'm a consultant. Well, that worked for a little while, and I think people did that because they got tired of the strong-arm tactics that the used car salesmen of the world were using. And so they just said, I'm a consultant. Well, they quit learning how to sell as a consultant, and not a whole lot happened. When value-added selling started becoming in vogue about 10 years ago and more every year and continuing on through the day, this to me is where it's at. If you are a value-added title agent to your customers and to the homeowners that close with you, you're in a different place. Now, let me give you the key to value add. You have to understand your customers. You have to understand what they want, what they need, where the holes are in their business models, what they struggle with, what's working and what's not working. I mean, it used to be that everybody's trying to give them access to title calculators. I think that's past tense now. I think that's done. And you probably need to have one, but is that going to get you new business? Probably not. Find out what your customers need and then solve those problems. And if you can solve at least one good problem, if not more than one, then you're adding value to your customers. You could charge $250 more than the guys down the street, and they'll still use you. In fact, that's one of the big complaints I have about the title industry is that it's become too commoditized. Everybody's worried about the next $10 that go on their HUD because they might be more expensive than the guys down the street. I say don't let that happen to you. 8, learn your strengths and weaknesses. The best way to know where you can improve is for people to tell you. Email surveys to every homeowner that closes with you. Email surveys to every real estate professional just post-closing. Do it right after closing. Don't wait. A week is too long. Do it that day or the next day. Use an automated marketing platform like SurveyMonkey, kind of a strange name, I know, but use one of those automated survey marketing platforms and work these surveys like they are the most important thing that you do. And you might not learn anything from the first 20 or 30 or 40 that come in. You might. But then that one will come in. It will be a great idea or something that will give you insight as to what's going on when you're coming in you had no idea about, and it's going to help you to be more successful. There was a survey done, and this survey asked homeowners, if you would use your real estate professional again, why? The number one reason why a homeowner said they would use their real estate agent or mortgage professional again is the experience they had at closing. When I learned of this, it really took me by surprise. You guys are the key holders. You're the gatekeepers. Learn what it is that you do well and learn the things that you need to fix, and knowledge is power. 7, the real estate. If you're relying on escrow officers and other staff for part-time marketing, bring in at least one professional to augment what they do or to take over what they do. And let that person pay for themselves. Listen, we're still in an employer's market here. This is not a job seeker's market. The unemployment rate in this country is still 9 or 10% or whatever it is. It's still high. There are plenty of good people out there who will work for you commission only. They'll bring in new business and they'll pay for themselves. Now, do they need to have direct title experience? No, I don't think so. It would be helpful if they had some real estate experience, certainly. But can you take that person who's just a good person, a good salesman, a good salesperson who doesn't have real estate experience and turn them into someone who can bring in business? Absolutely. Now, if you do hire somebody on commission-only basis, then the pay has to equal the performance. If they bring in new business, you gotta open that checkbook up big time. Don't pay them 6 or 7 or 8%. Pay them more than that. 10% minimum on the whole thing. They've got to make money. And when you're hiring somebody, I say go with your gut feelings. You know, I see title agents giving people personality exams and all kinds of other stuff, okay, but it's not what I would do. If that salesperson interviews someone a couple of times, do they show up to your meeting on time? Do they look you in the eye? Do they shake your hand? Are they clear and concise with their words? They're trying to sell you on a job. If you feel good about how they're selling you, hire them. If you don't, for any reason, whether you can put your finger on or not, pass. Find someone that makes you feel good about the meeting and on a couple of different days so that you make sure you've got a good snapshot of them. It'll work out. When you hire your sales team, you got to meet with them every week at first, without failure. You can't say, well, this Friday we're not because I got a golf game, or Monday I can't because I've had a terrible weekend. You've got to meet with your sales team and you've got to talk to them. You've got to hear what they're doing. You've got to see how that matches up with what the company plan is. You've got to hear where they need help, and then you've got to help them. You've got to meet with them. Now, eventually you might back off a once a week, maybe. I meet with our team once a week by phone. But I'm a pretty hands-on person. But I'm only there to meet with them to help them. And when they have questions or they come up against maybe an objection that they can't handle, I help them. You got to be, whether you're a sales or marketing person or not, if you're running the office, you got to be hands-on. And you have to learn how to do it. There's plenty of good books out there how to do that. Have your sales team and the rest of your company, this is number 5, build your customer and prospective customer database. If you don't have a real CRM database, you're not getting the information you need. Besides, if a salesperson leaves you at some point, you got to know who all their contacts were. Well, if you're using an online system like Sugar CRM or 37 Signals, and there's others out there, I'm not endorsing any one, although Sugar CRM seems to be one of the best. If you're not using a collaborative tool, you're missing out. But if you use that online collaborative tool, which has got iPhone apps and Android apps for your salespeople to use, which is really handy for tracking meetings and prospects and customers, you know, you're missing out on data, especially if that person leaves. And these systems are easy to use. One of my favorites, make a list of the top 10 real estate professionals, agents, or mortgage professionals in your area that don't use your company, and then make a plan to meet each one of them. Now, you can define top however you want, seniority, volume, number of closings, whatever it is. I don't care how you define it. Find 10 people that you don't know, or 10 people that maybe you know a little bit that aren't using you, and get in front of them one way or the other. It doesn't matter how you do it. Board of Realtors meeting, cocktail party, have them over to your office for lunch, whatever it is. Get in front of them. And what do you do when you get in front of them? Just say, I wanted to meet you. Shake your hand. I hear great things about you. You're one of the tops in the area. I wanted to meet you. And that's it. Now, if the conversation goes beyond that, fine. If it doesn't, that's okay. If they go, you know what, thank you for saying that. I've got a title agency. I'm happy with them. Nothing stays permanent. When they screw up, their current relationship screws up at some point, most likely they will, then they're going to remember that handshake that you gave them. You just never know what dividends that's going to pay. 3, if you're sending out newsletters, emails, postcards, whatever it is, and they're generic content, stop. Please, please, please stop. Happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving, 4th of July, Memorial Day, whatever it is, recipes. If you're not sending unique content to each one of your current customers and prospective customers too, that's where that database comes in handy. Stop doing the generic stuff because you're doing what all your competition is doing. Don't do what they do. Think outside the box. Maybe happy birthday is okay because people kind of like to get that because that means you're thinking of them in a special time of the year. But the rest of the stuff I don't believe in. Now, we can replace it, so we got to replace it. I'll give you that here in just a second. Number 2, have the owner of your company or the top executive at your branch introduce him or herself to every non-directing real estate professional who attends a closing in your office. Shake their hand, thank them for coming in. That is one of your customers. as a non-directing agent. Now, they may not be a directing agent customer. They may only be a non-directing agent, but those people are prime candidates for you to sell to. You're giving them money, right, in their commission check. They've got to come see you. If I owned a title agency, I don't, but if I did, I'd say I want the commission check. If you don't pay the broker, in some cases I know you have to, but if you're paying the real estate agent direct, I want to hand that commission check to everyone who comes into our office. Remote closing is something different. I can thank them for their business. I can hand them their money. Whether I sell to them at that particular moment or not doesn't matter. Stay in front of them positively. If you get an opportunity to sell them, great. Take it. Number one, use the power within your company that is contained in the information and the data of who you are. Rather than sending generic emails or messages out to your customers, here's what I tell marketing people who work for title agents to do. I say, if you've got attorneys working in your agency, go meet with them. If they're escrow officers, go meet with them. If they're title officers, go meet with them. And ask about the unique transactions that they've worked on over the last year. Something where they made maybe in a heroic effort. Maybe they teamed up with the underwriter and this property was very challenged and they got it figured out. Here's an example. There's an attorney here in Orlando, and this was a great story. This gentleman was going to buy some property here in Central Florida, and at the very last second, right before closing, they determined he didn't have the right kind of green card. Deal's off. And they were told that there's no way they could get that rectified, period. Maybe probably not ever. Well, the attorney got in with an immigration attorney, and they figured out a solution, got his green card changed in just a matter of a couple of days. So what turned out to be never turned out to be a pretty fast fix, and they got the deal closed. Well, they blasted this information out to every realtor in the area using Digital Street or Constant Contact email platforms. I don't remember which one they were on. And they're getting all kinds of business because of it. And it's not necessarily immigration challenge transactions. It's just they clearly set themselves up as an expert. So once a month, blast out to all the real estate professionals in your area something that you all did that probably nobody else did or knew how to do. There's a story monthly that you can mine from the experts in your company. And if you can't get it from them, go to your underwriter and get it. Somebody has a story for you, 12 stories a year, do it and blast them out and set yourself apart with this unique message of how you guys solve the problem. Jeremy, we're going to run out of time. I've got more, of course. I always do, but I think I'll stop. Are there any questions?
Yeah, we'll cap you here. You probably could go for another 30 minutes. Yeah, Chris says keep going. There was a comment that someone submitted. I didn't see exactly when it came in. It was when you were mentioning lunch and taking your clients out to lunch. But what about states where you're not allowed to spend money on your customers?
Well, that's a good question, and for that reason, what I'm saying is, if you're going to take of course I'm not against taking somebody to lunch, or I'm not against you bringing them back, but don't make that the focal point of your sales. When you meet with a prospective customer, meet with them to find out what they're doing, what's working, where their challenges are, and what you can do to help. That should be the focal point of the conversation. If you ask me, food gets in the way of that healthy conversation. I mean, sometimes you do it and it's fine, but it's a good reason to meet. But it really can kind of get in the way. I'll tell you quickly, Jeremy, a story. One of the first reps I rode with worked for a title agency here in Orlando, and this lady was very serious about her job. She was meticulous. She kept great notes. When she spoke to me on the phone and in person, she looked me right in the eye. She was very, very serious. And I asked her, can I ride with you on some sales calls? I'd love to see how you work. I mean, because this is a real pro. Well, she said, great. So I rode with her, and all day long we went to real estate agents' offices. And the first thing she would do when she got to the real estate agent's office was she'd go back to her trunk and get food. And then she'd bring the food in, and I thought, well, that's not not what I would prefer to see, but listen, she's a pro. At least I hope she is. Well, when she hit the front door, her demeanor changed. And she instantly turned into this person who was hugging and kissing everybody, and she was acting like she was the best friend of every agent in their office. And what she couldn't see that I could see was when she was hugging these people, they were rolling their eyes. Your customers are not your best friends. They shouldn't be your best friends. They should be your clients. They should be the people that you are helping make more money, close more transactions, maybe lower expenses along the way. They're your partners. They're not your friends. Don't treat them like they're your best friend by taking them food and taking them out to lunch if that's all you're relying on. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Good advice. One more quick question, and this is in regard to marketing reps. With title companies, still having to operate lean, how long do you expect to see results from the marketing rep you bring on board? Is it 3 months, 6 months, a year?
Well, that depends on the person. If you're going to buy, where it's justified to pay a salary is if you're buying a book of business, of course. If you can do that with someone who can bring customers with them right away, then why would you not? But with someone that doesn't have a book of business, it could take 30 to 60 days. But if they're not generating business inside of 60 days for you, then they most likely won't work out. But to generate business, they gotta have one very important thing from day one, and this is something I learned early on. In fact, I learned it from my dad, who is 40 years in sales and marketing. You got to have activity, and you got to have the right kind of activity. Activity leads to sales. Sales leads to obviously more business. If they don't have activity, day one, you know these people who are always getting ready to get ready. Well, let me write down everybody's name and their phone numbers and the email addresses, and let's go back and check again. No. Let's have a day or two of training, and then let's go out and start meeting people. Let's go to the association meetings. Let's go to the places where what they say, if you're going to go shoot elephants, you got to go to Africa. Let's go to Africa where the big guys hang out, and let's meet with them. Shake their hand. Am I going to get in a big title agency or title insurance, discussion? No. If I don't know much, I'm just going to shake their hand and say, I represent ABC Title. But you got to have activity on the front end.
All right. Let's squeeze in one more. It's kind of on the same vein. The question is, how do you bring on a 100% commission person and not expect them to take care of existing clients already using your company?
Well, if you're going to hire me as your sales rep, I'm going to, one of the questions I'm going to ask you is, am I doing customer service? And if I am, then you got to pay them for that. But you can tell any sales rep, listen, here's our customer base. These are the people who are using us. This is the protected list, if you will. You don't need to go talk to these people. You can put anybody in your organization on customer service. You can send the receptionist, if she's got a nice smile and a nice way about her, down the road with the donuts and the bagels and saying, thank you for your business. And if they ask her a question like, well, I've got a problem with a closing, let me get one, and then she can say, let me get one of the experts on the line. You can send anybody after that job if they've got the right personality. Find a professional salesperson and let them do what they do best, and that is prospecting and talking to people that they don't know and winning them over.
All right. Well, thanks for that advice. Robert, can you forward the slide to your contact information? That way, if anyone else wants to follow up, they'll have your email and phone number.
Certainly. Jeremy, do I have 30 seconds to show this next slide? I'll do it in 15 seconds.
Go right ahead.
I keep talking about what do your customers need help with. Well, I'm going to give you two. I don't normally share this, but I'm going to do it with you guys. Look at this slide. Homeowners forget who their real estate professional really, who they are in 9 months or less. And because of that, most real estate professionals don't get, let me skip to the next one, I'm sorry. Most real estate professionals, in fact 60% really, don't get any repeat business. Okay, so here's the deal. You all and your customers help people with the largest transaction of their life for most of them. The most money, the biggest purchase they'll ever make. Some of them only do it once, some of them do it a handful of times, and they forget you in 9 months. Somebody needs to explain that to me. They remember their auto dealership more than they remember their real estate agent. That doesn't make sense. If you can solve these problems for your customers, you're on another plateau from all of your competition. Jeremy, thank you very much for having me today. I know I've gone over my 30-minute limit. If anybody would like to call me and talk to me about sales and marketing, if they want to find out about our technology that does in fact answer some of these questions about how to bring value to your customer, email me or call me. You know, again, this is my favorite subject, and I'm here to help you, even if that means you're not going to become a customer of ours. I'm not soliciting your business. I'm happy to help.
All right. Thanks, Robert. And just as a reminder, today's presentation will be available for download later this week on the ALTA website, and you'll be able to find it at alta.org/title topics. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact Robert. My email, you can contact me as well. My email is jyohe, and that's JYOHE @alta.org. For next month's Title Topics webinar, we will be discussing the benefits of going paperless, so watch out for details on the time and date for next month's webinar. That brings us to the conclusion of today's presentation. Robert, thanks again for joining us, and I hope all the listeners found the webinar useful. Thanks, everyone.